Hey Reader fam, today I am bringing you the Peculiar Book Tag, and this book tag was created by me, myself, and I. It's been a while since I've created a book tag, but bam, I'm dropping one today. And this book tag is being inspired by my all-time favorite book, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. All the questions are inspired by different aspects from the story, so without further ado, let's get started. Abandoned House, a book that you once abandoned but then gave another chance and ended up enjoying. This one might be a bit surprising, but that is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. It took me like 3 or 4 times to finally push myself to get into this book. I had read the first chapter like over and over and over again, and I just wasn't fully understanding what was going on. And I was also just kind of like, this isn't really grabbing me right now, but you have to push through those first few chapters to really get into the story and to really start enjoying it. That's a lesson I learned with reading this book. But as you guys know, I did end up pushing through, and I have caught up with this series now, and I love it. It is so great. Vintage Photographs, a book that you would have loved to have seen illustrations in. For this one, I'm gonna go with The Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Now, this book is fine on its own. It doesn't need illustrations, but I would just love to see illustrations, especially because there are so many incredible A Darker Shade of Magic fan art pieces out there, and I would love to see those just tucked inside this book. So that way, while I'm reading, I can just see those beautiful images. I think it would just be a nice touch to this book. Maybe they should come out with like a special edition version with like fan art threaded throughout it, because I would adore that. I would snatch that right up. Loop, a series that you wouldn't mind reading on loop. Back to back to back to back. I'm gonna go with the Infernal Devices trilogy. Ever since I finished this trilogy, I've been thinking about rereading it because I love it so much. And I feel like this is a trilogy where if you were to go back and reread it, that you would have picked up on things that you wouldn't have on the first go. So I definitely feel like this is a book that I could just read on loop and just enjoy over and over and over again. And I really want to give it a reread soon. Peculiar Children, a character's ability that you desire to have for yourself. For this one, I'm gonna go with Enoch's ability, because even though Enoch is a straight up creeper, I would love to have his ability. The ability that he has is to bring dead people back to life, which I know that also sounds kind of creepy, but wouldn't that just be such a cool ability? Like, you could bring back to life loved ones or awesome people like Walt Disney. Like, that would just be so epic. Miss Peregrine, your favorite character that is a leader. I'm gonna go with Kaz Brekker from Six of Crows because I admire his leadership ability. He leads the Six of Crows crew and he does an incredible job doing so. Jacob, your favorite story where a regular kid discovers an extraordinary world. Other than Harry Potter, I'm gonna go with the Percy Jackson series. Now, I haven't completed this series, but I've read the first 3 books and I loved the first 3 books. Percy Jackson is just such a fun character, and I love reading about him and his crazy adventure, and it's just so much fun seeing him kind of discover this whole new world that was in front of him that he had no idea about. Emma, a fierce and fiery character. I know I already mentioned a character from this book, but I'm gonna go with Inej from Six of Crows. I recently reread this book and I was just blown away by how epic and awesome Inej is. Like, she is such a fiery character. She is fueled by a fire that cannot be put out. She's pretty much unstoppable, and I love that about her. Millard, a book that seems to be invisible but needs to be read by more people. For this one, I'm gonna go with Faking Normal by Courtney C. Stevens. I feel like this book is so underrated, and I hardly hear anybody talking about this book, but this book is so great. It does deal with some hard-hitting topics, but it's so worth the read. Olive, a book that you bought that floated to the top of your TBR. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. This book literally floated to the top of my TBR. Once I got my hands on it, I read it. There was just so much excitement surrounding this book that I just couldn't not read it right away. Hugh, a book that stinged and caused a lot of feelings. For this one, I'm gonna go with A Monster Calls. This book is just so emotional. We have this boy whose mother is facing cancer, and one night a monster comes to him, and just the things that the little boy and his mother are facing throughout this book are so emotional, and it brought me a lot of feelings. I got feels. They're multiplying. Enoch, without spoiling, a book character that you would bring back to life. I'm gonna say a certain book character from this series. I'm not saying if it's in this book or not, but I feel like the death of this character caused some complications, so I'm gonna say this series. That was as vague as I can make it. Bronwyn, a physically strong character. I honestly had a hard time thinking about a physically strong character. I know a lot of mentally strong characters, but physically I was like, I don't know who's really strong. So I'm just gonna go with Bronwyn herself from the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children trilogy because she is hecka strong. Like, this girl can lift some crazy things. Hologas, a book you read that felt like an experiment gone wrong. For this one, I'm gonna go with Grasshopper Jungle by Andrew Smith. Now, I loved this book. I thought it was so much fun, but it is just so weird. And I was just like, Andrew Smith, what is going on in your mind? Because this book is so strange. This is the story of two boys who accidentally unleash an army of unstoppable praying mantises. It's such a ridiculous story concept. Somehow Andrew Smith makes it work, but it's so weird, guys. It is so weird. Whites, a book that felt like it had consumed tropes that you've seen be done before in other books. For this one, I'm gonna go with Red Queen. Now, here's the deal. I am Red Queen trash. I love this series so far. But I recognize the fact that it's not the most original story, and that there are definitely tropes throughout this book that have been done before. But I still love it. I don't care what y'all think about me. I love this series. Again, so far. I don't know where it's going, so I might end up hating it, but I love it so far. So that was the peculiar book tag. I hope that you guys enjoyed this tag. I don't know who to tag, so if you want to do this tag, feel free to do it. I will leave all the questions down below. Now I want to ask you guys a question to answer down in the comments, and that's one of the questions from the tag. If you could steal a character's magical abilities and use it for yourself, what magical ability would it be? If you like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so click subscribe if you want to be notified for when I post new videos. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye, choo. Especially because there is so much Jacob. Oh my gosh, there's a bird crowing outside. How relevant. Jacob, your favorite story where a regular kid... Oh my gosh, stupid bird, shut up.